At some point, you are going to stop working. Maybe it is by choice, maybe it is by necessity, your health, your energy, your industry deciding it no longer needs you. But one day, the paychecks stop, and whatever you have built by that point is what you have to work with for the rest of your life. That number, what you have saved when the work stops, determines almost everything about what the next 20 to 30 years look like, what you eat, where you live, whether you travel or stay home, whether you help your kids or need them to help you, whether Monday morning still has the same weight it did when you were 40, or whether it finally feels different. Here is the number that should be keeping you up at night, if it is not already. According to Northwestern Mutual's 2026 Planning and Progress Study, released just this month, the average American now says they need $1.46 million to retire comfortably. That is a 15% jump from just 1 year ago, and it's climbing faster than most people are saving. Here is the actual reality on the ground. According to Federal Reserve data, the median retirement savings across all American households is $87,000. The average, pulled up by high earners, is $333,940, and a full 29% of retirees currently have $0 saved for retirement. Nothing. Today we are going to walk through 5 retirement savings levels: $100,000, $500,000, $1 million, $3 million, and $10 million, and tell you exactly what life looks like at each one. Not the theory, the actual daily reality of waking up retired with each of these numbers in your account. This is Money Feed. Subscribe right now if you are not already. Here, every week, we break down exactly how money shapes real life with real numbers, real data, and no filler. Let's get into it. First, the math everyone needs to know. Before we go level by level, one concept is going to come up at every single level, and you need to understand it before we start. It is called the 4% rule. The 4% rule is the most widely used framework in retirement planning for figuring out how much you can safely spend each year without running out of money. Here's how it works. You take your total retirement savings and multiply by 4%. That gives you roughly what you can withdraw annually, adjusted for inflation, and have your money last approximately 30 years. Simple example: $1 million in retirement savings. 4% of $1 million is $40,000 per year. That's approximately $3,333 per month to live on from your savings. The rule is not perfect. Some financial planners now recommend 3.3 to 3.5% given longer life expectancies and lower expected returns. But 4% is the starting point, and we'll use it throughout this video so you can compare each level on the same terms. One more number to anchor every level. The average Social Security retirement benefit as of 2026 is $2,071 per month, or roughly $24,852 per year. Most retirees receive this on top of whatever their savings generate. We'll add Social Security into each level to give you the full picture. Now, let's go. Level 1. Retiring with $100,000. I made it, but the math is terrifying. $100,000, more than the median American retiree, and genuinely not enough to retire on if you're under 75 and in reasonable health. Here's the math. 4% of $100,000 is $4,000 per year, $333 per month from your savings. Add the average Social Security benefit of $2,071 per month, and your total monthly retirement income is approximately $2,404 before taxes. The federal poverty level for a single person over 65 in 2026 is $15,060 annually, about $1,255 per month. Your $2,404 is above poverty, but it's not comfortable. It's survival with a small margin. What does life actually look like at $100,000 in retirement? Your entire existence is organized around fixed costs and fixed income. Social Security arrives on a specific date every month. You know what it is. You've already calculated, probably to the dollar, what the month costs. Rent or housing, utilities, groceries, Medicare premiums, which for most retirees run of $174.70 per month for Part B in 2026, plus supplemental coverage, prescription medications and transportation. These recurring costs consume the majority of your income before any discretionary spending begins. There is almost no discretionary spending. Eating out occasionally, a streaming subscription, a birthday gift for a grandchild that you thought about for 2 weeks before buying. The math on every optional purchase is the same calculation you may remember from lower income years. Can I actually afford this, or does this decision cost me something more important next week? Healthcare is the specific terror at this level that is different from any other financial anxiety you have experienced. At 65 and above, medical needs are not theoretical. Prescription costs, specialist visits, dental work that Medicare doesn't cover, the possibility of a hospital stay or a procedure. These are real near-term probabilities, not distant risks. With $100,000 in savings, a serious medical event doesn't just deplete your retirement account, it can eliminate it. The psychological dimension of $100,000 in retirement is specific and worth naming. You worked your entire adult life, you showed up, you tried, and the sum of that effort in savings terms is a number that generates $333 a month. That gap between effort and outcome is not always a product of bad decisions. Sometimes it's low wages, late starts, medical crises in earlier decades, divorce, supporting other people during years when saving was not possible. The situation is real, and it's painful, and it's the situation of tens of millions of Americans right now. 64% of current retirees told Clever Real Estate in 2026 that the United States is in a retirement crisis. 51% say they have no plan if their savings run out. At $100,000, you're living inside that crisis. Level 2. Retiring with $500,000. I did better than most, but I still feel the walls. $500,000 in retirement savings puts you ahead of more than 90% of American households. According to Federal Reserve data, only 9.3% of households with retirement accounts have $500,000 or more saved. You have reached a level that the majority of Americans will never reach.
The triage is gone. You are not calculating every purchase against the next one. You can go to a restaurant without guilt. You can fly to see your grandchildren once a year. You can replace the refrigerator when it breaks without a payment plan. These are not small things. After years of working and managing money carefully, the basic absence of that daily calculation is a genuine relief. But here is what $500,000 does not give you: flexibility with large expenses. If you need a major home repair, a roof, an HVAC system, significant medical work not covered by insurance, that cost comes out of a finite pool that, once spent, does not refill. A $30,000 roof replacement at 67 is not a crisis, but it reduces your $500,000 to $470,000, and the 4% income that pool generates drops accordingly. The specific stress at $500,000 in retirement is longevity risk. This is the technical term for the fear of outliving your money. At 4% withdrawal, $500,000 is structured to last approximately 30 years, which gets you to 95 if you retire at 65. That sounds like enough, but the math assumes steady returns and controlled spending. A market downturn in the first 5 years of retirement, what financial planners call sequence of returns risk, can shorten the runway significantly. If the market drops 30% in your first 3 years of retirement and you keep withdrawing the same amount, you are selling investments at depressed prices. The portfolio may never fully recover. Sequence of returns risk is the thing most people at this level have not thought about clearly, and it is one of the reasons a financial advisor matters most in the first 2 to 3 years of retirement, when the decisions you make establish the trajectory of the next 25. The $500,000 retiree is also much more dependent on Social Security being there and being what it currently is. With Social Security's trust fund projected to face significant pressure by 2032 and potential benefit reductions of up to 20 to 24% if Congress does not act, that $2,071 monthly benefit is not guaranteed at its current level. If it were reduced by 20%, your monthly income drops by $414. That is real at $500,000. At higher levels, it is a nuisance. Here, it changes things. Level 3. Retiring with $1 million. I'm a millionaire, so why does it still feel like there's not enough? $1 million in retirement savings, the number that has represented financial success in the American imagination for generations. You made it. Here is the immediate mathematical reality. 4% of $1 million is $40,000 a year, $3,333 per month from your portfolio. Add Social Security at $2,071, your total monthly retirement income is $5,404, or $64,848 per year. That is above median household income in the United States. For a single person in most markets, that is genuinely comfortable. But here is what surprises most people who arrive at $1 million. The arrival does not feel the way it looked from the outside. You know the number, you have watched it grow for decades, you have told yourself that when you get there things will feel different, and in important ways they do. The security is real, the options are real, but the daily texture of life at $1 million in retirement is more ordinary than the number suggests, because $1 million generating 4% is $40,000 a year. That is a solid but not extravagant income. The millionaire label and the income reality are two different things. What does daily life actually look like at $1 million? You are genuinely free from financial stress in the day-to-day sense. Groceries, utilities, routine healthcare, transportation, none of this requires calculation. You can choose where to live based on preference rather than purely on cost, which is a freedom that sounds simple and is not. You travel, not necessarily first class and not necessarily frequently, but you travel. You help your children and grandchildren in meaningful ways, a generous birthday gift, help with a down payment, covering a grandchild's tuition without it threatening the structure of your own finances. The thing $1 million in retirement gives you that no lower level provides: real choices. When an opportunity or a want appears, a home renovation, a trip that costs real money, a medical procedure not covered by insurance, the question is whether you want to spend on it, not whether you can. And that shift from "can I afford this" to "do I want to spend on this" is one of the most significant psychological changes that wealth produces, and it is as present in retirement as it is during working years. Subscribe to Money Feed right now if you haven't already. We are about to get into the levels where money genuinely starts working differently, and the gap between $1 million and $3 million in retirement is larger than most people expect. The specific concern at $1 million is inflation. Over a 25-year retirement, even modest inflation at 3% per year roughly doubles the cost of everything. The $5,400 monthly budget you set at 65 needs to be $9,000 by the time you are 85 to maintain the same standard of living. A portfolio of $1 million needs to be invested in a way that grows even as you withdraw from it, which means accepting some market risk even in retirement, and building a plan that adjusts withdrawals and allocations over time. This is non-trivial, and it is the primary reason that even $1 million retirees benefit enormously from professional financial planning.
Level 4. Retiring with $3 million. Money stopped being the constraint. Now I have to figure out what I actually want. $3 million in retirement savings. You are now in a genuinely small category of Americans. According to Federal Reserve estimates, fewer than 3% of American households retire with $3 million or more in assets. The math: 4% of $3 million is $120,000 per year. $10,000 per month from your portfolio alone. Add Social Security, and at this income level, your Social Security benefit is likely at or near the maximum, which in 2026 is approximately $5,108 per month if you waited until 70 to claim. Your total potential monthly retirement income is $15,108, or over $181,000 per year. That number is not a household income anymore. It is wealth-level income in retirement. What does life actually look like at $3 million? The practical financial constraints of retirement have been almost entirely removed. Travel is not something you plan carefully around budget. It is something you do when you want to. Business class when the flight is long enough to matter. Staying where you want to stay. Eating where you want to eat. None of these decisions require anything beyond asking whether you actually want to do the thing. Healthcare is radically different at $3 million. You pay for excellent supplemental coverage without blinking. You see specialists without waiting for referrals you have to fight for. Dental, vision, procedures, the menu of care you have access to is determined by what is medically appropriate, not by what your coverage structure allows. This distinction between receiving care based on medical need versus coverage limitations is one of the most significant quality of life differences that wealth and retirement produces, and it is one that almost nobody discusses outside of financial planning circles. You give, meaningfully, repeatedly, and on your own terms. You help your children in substantial ways, with down payments, with education for grandchildren, with the kind of financial support that actually changes their trajectory. The triage is gone.
The money is largely running itself. A $3 million portfolio, properly managed, generates returns that in good years significantly exceed your withdrawals. Your net worth in retirement is not necessarily declining. It may be growing even as you spend. The psychological shift of watching a retirement account grow while you spend from it after a lifetime of watching it be the thing you were trying to grow and protect is disorienting in a good way. The anxiety of preservation that defines lower levels of retirement is genuinely absent. What replaces it is a different kind of question. Not how do I make this last, but what do I actually want to do with the time and the resources I have? That question is harder than it sounds. After 40 years of work structuring every day, the open canvas of genuinely free time with genuinely sufficient resources requires a level of intentionality about what matters that most people have never had the luxury of developing. The $3 million retiree is also thinking about legacy, not abstractly, concretely. Estate planning, trusts, how assets transfer to the next generation in a tax-efficient way, charitable giving strategies. The financial decisions at this level have implications that extend past your own lifetime, and they require professional guidance that is specific, sophisticated, and not optional if you want the wealth to actually do what you intend. Level 5. Retiring with $10 million. Retirement is no longer the right word for what I'm doing. $10 million in retirement assets puts you in the top fraction of a % of American retirees. By any definition, you have not just solved the retirement problem, you have moved past it into something different. The math first. 4% of $10 million is $400,000 per year, $33,333 per month from your portfolio. Your Social Security adds another $5,108 per month at maximum benefit. But at this level, Social Security is irrelevant as a financial instrument. It is a rounding error. Total monthly retirement income from the portfolio alone, $33,333. Annual, $400,000. That is not retirement income. That is a very good salary generated by assets without you working at all. What does life look like at $10 million in retirement? The word retirement does not fully apply. Retirement implies a stopping, a transition from working to not working, from producing to consuming. At $10 million, the assets are producing at a pace that far exceeds reasonable consumption. You are not spending your savings. You are living on the returns while the principal grows. Your $10 million portfolio in an average market year generates returns significantly above the 4% you withdraw. The estate you leave behind may be larger than what you retired with. You have moved from managing money to managing wealth, and those are different activities. Managing money is about making enough, saving enough, spending carefully enough, and ensuring that what you have lasts. Managing wealth is about structure, legal, tax, and organizational structure designed to protect what you have, optimize what it generates, and ensure it reaches the next generation in the most efficient form possible. At $10 million, estate taxes become a real and significant consideration. The federal estate tax exemption in 2026 is approximately $13.6 million per individual. Below that threshold, no federal estate tax applies. At $10 million, you are below it, but combined with a spouse's estate or with continued growth, you can approach it. The planning required to handle this correctly, irrevocable trusts, charitable giving strategies, family limited partnerships, multi-generational planning, is genuinely complex and genuinely consequential. What does the person with $10 million in retirement actually spend their time on? This varies wildly, and the variation is the most interesting thing about this level. Some people work, not out of need, but out of identity. They consult, advise, build things, stay engaged in industries they spent decades in. The removal of financial necessity does not remove the desire to produce for most people. Research consistently shows that purpose and structure, not financial freedom alone, are the primary drivers of well-being in retirement. The person at $10 million who is miserable is not a cliché. They exist, and they exist because wealth solved the financial problem without solving the question of what a meaningful life looks like when work is no longer defining it. The most honest thing to say about $10 million in retirement is this: it eliminates the financial dimension of almost every decision you will ever make again. What it does not do is make those decisions for you.
The question of how to live, what to do with time, how to stay connected to purpose, how to maintain relationships that are not distorted by the presence of significant wealth remains exactly as hard as it always was. Money is a powerful answer to a specific set of questions. The questions it cannot answer are the ones that matter most at this level. What connects every level? We have walked through 5 levels of retirement, and across all of them, one pattern is consistent. The gap between where most Americans end up and where they want to be is not primarily a gap in income. It is a gap in time and behavior. Americans, on average, start saving for retirement at age 31, according to Northwestern Mutual's 2026 data. They plan to retire at 65. That's 34 years of potential compounding. But here's what that actually means in numbers. If you save $400 per month starting at 31, invested at 7% annual return, you retire at 65 with approximately $879,000. That gets you to level 3, genuinely solid retirement. If you wait until 41 to start and save the same $400 per month at the same return rate, you retire with approximately $405,000, just above level 2. A 10-year delay cost you $464,000. The mechanism is not complicated. The execution over decades is what almost everyone underestimates. According to the 2026 data from Clever Real Estate, 57% of current retirees were 30 or older when they first began saving. Nearly a third were 40 or older, and 92% of those retirees say that other people underestimate how much retirement actually costs, including 58% who say they were surprised themselves. You are watching this video. That already puts you in a different position than the majority of people who will hit retirement age without having thought this through carefully. What to do right now? If your current retirement savings are under $100,000, the priority is starting or increasing contributions immediately. The 401k contribution limit in 2026 is $24,500. Even a fraction of that, contributed consistently and matched by an employer, changes the trajectory significantly. The math at your age favors action more than strategy. Just start. If you are between $100,000 and $500,000, run the 4% calculation right now on what you have. That number tells you what annual income your savings currently support. Compare it to what you actually spend. The gap between those two numbers is what you are working to close between now and retirement. If you are between $500,000 and $1 million, longevity risk and sequence of returns risk are the things to understand before you retire. A fee-only fiduciary financial advisor, one legally required to act in your interest, is worth finding at this stage. The first 3 years of retirement are the most consequential, and the decisions you make in that window shape the next 25 years. If you are at $1 million or above, tax efficiency and estate planning are no longer optional considerations. Work with a fiduciary advisor and an estate attorney. The difference between a structured plan and an unstructured one at this level is hundreds of thousands of dollars over a retirement lifetime. Final thought. The magic number Americans think they need to retire in 2026 is $1.46 million. The median American retires with $87,000. That gap between what people think they need and what they actually have is the defining financial crisis of our generation. You cannot close that gap by wishing it were different. You close it the same way every level above $100,000 was reached by the people who got there, by starting earlier than you think you need to, saving more than feels comfortable, and not letting lifestyle consume every raise before it can compound. The time is the variable. Everything else is mechanics. Subscribe to Money Feed if this gave you clarity. We go this deep every single week. Real numbers, real stakes, real talk about how money actually shapes life at every level. Share this with someone who needs to see where they stand. We'll see you in the next one.